Have you ever looked at someone's financial life, their success, their failures, their seemingly strange decisions, and thought, I just don't get it? Why does the brilliant CEO blow their fortune on a doomed venture? Why does the modest teacher retire a millionaire? And why do we so often make money choices that deep down we know aren't right for us? It's a puzzle. For decades, we've been told that finance is a math-based field, a playground for spreadsheets and formulas. But what if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if money isn't primarily about what you know, but about how you behave? Welcome. Find a comfortable space. This isn't a lecture on interest rates or stock picks. This is a story about stories, the stories we tell ourselves about greed, fear, risk, and luck. The invisible scripts that run in the background of every financial decision we make. This is a journey through the psychology of money. And it might just change the way you see your financial life forever. Let me introduce you to two people. The first is Ronald Reed, a gas station attendant and janitor from Vermont. He wore worn-out jeans, flannel shirts, and for warmth, he'd safety pin his coat shut. He was the picture of frugal simplicity. When he passed away in 2014 at age 92, his friends and family were stunned to discover his secret: an investment portfolio worth over $8 million. He'd quietly invested in blue-chip stocks for decades and simply never touched it. The second is Richard Fosconi, a Harvard-educated Merrill Lynch executive. He lived in a mansion, had a private jet, and was the epitome of Wall Street success. In 2008, after the financial crisis, he filed for bankruptcy, drowning in debt he could no longer service. One played the game with stunning patience, the other with devastating leverage. Both were playing with the same numbers, the same market, but they were operating under completely different psychologies. See, financial success is not a hard science. It's a soft skill. It's a study of people, of history, of emotion, and of our own flawed, beautiful human brains. Your personal experiences with money, what you lived through, what your parents taught you, the first time you felt shame or power around cash, they form a unique lens that you, and only you, see the world through. My goal today is to walk you through the most powerful lessons from this realm, not as cold principles, but as living truths. We'll unpack them, feel them, and see how they play out in the quiet moments of decision. So let's begin with perhaps the most liberating idea. Lesson one that is told as no one's crazy. Your uncle who keeps cash in a coffee can, your friend who buys speculative cryptocurrency, the veteran who refuses to invest in the stock market after living through 2008. We call them crazy, but they're not. People make financial decisions based on their own unique view from the window. If you were born in 1970, your first adult experience with the stock market was a historic bull run. Of course, you're an optimist. If you were born in 1920, your first experience was the Great Depression. Of course, you're risk-averse. The Spanish flu generation hoarded cash. The 2008 millennials are skeptical of housing. These are rational responses to the worlds they personally inhabited. Imagine two people looking at the same ocean. One learned to swim in a calm lagoon, the other survived a tsunami. They will have profoundly different feelings about taking a boat out. Neither is crazy. They just have different models of how the world works, forged by personal history. The first step to financial wisdom is radical empathy for others and for yourself. Your money decisions aren't made by a robot analyzing data. They're made by the inner child who remembers being poor, the ambitious teen who wants status, the parent who fears for their family's security. Stop judging, start understanding. Lesson 2, that is told as luck and risk, is the invisible twins. We love clean narratives. She worked hard and got rich. He took a wild risk and failed. But reality is messier. Sitting beside every outcome are its silent twins, luck and risk. They are the ever-present ghosts in the financial machine. Bill Gates went to one of the few high schools in the world that had a computer club in 1968. That's phenomenal luck. Another genius, born in a different place or time, never gets that exposure. Conversely, there are countless people who did everything right, saved, invested, worked hard, but were struck down by a sudden illness, a family crisis, a freak accident. That's risk. The problem is, we can't see them. We see the outcome and craft a story that makes sense, attributing 100% of it to actions and decisions. Take two entrepreneurs. Both are equally smart, work equally hard, and launch similar businesses in the same year. One gets a lucky break, a mention in a major publication that goes viral. The other suffers a risk. A key supplier goes bankrupt right before launch. A decade later, one is a celebrated success, the other a forgotten failure. We idolize the first and lecture the second. But the difference often is a hair's breadth of fortune. The lesson? Be humble in your successes. A large portion was likely the winds of luck at your back. Be gracious in your judgments of others' failures. The slap of risk is often random and cruel. Focus less on individual outcomes and more on broad patterns and processes that, over time, tilt the odds in your favor. Lesson 3. That is told as never enough. There's a famous story about the billionaire investor. At a party, he was asked by a fellow guest, "With your wealth, what are you still striving for? When is it enough?" He replied, "It's not about the money, it's about keeping score." This is one of the most dangerous psychological traps. The game of more has no finish line. And when the game has no end, the only outcomes are to die before you stop playing, or to blow up spectacularly. The hedge fund manager, who, after making hundreds of millions, takes one extra uncalled-for risk to get to $1 billion and loses everything. The celebrity who needs one more mansion, one more yacht, and embarks on shady deals to fund it. The hardest financial skill is getting the goalpost to stop moving. It means defining for yourself what is enough for freedom, enough for security, enough to provide for my loved ones, enough to sleep soundly at night. It's not a number on a spreadsheet, it's a feeling of contentment, a defensive moat against the insatiable hunger of comparison. Because when enough is undefined, you will always sacrifice your time, your relationships, your integrity, and your happiness to chase a phantom. The only way to win a game with no end is to stop playing, to declare your own victory and walk off the field. Lesson 4. That is told as the power of compounding, not intellect, but patience. We know intellectually about compound interest, but we feel it as a linear phenomenon. We underestimate its breathtaking, almost magical power because it doesn't happen in a flash. It happens in the silent, boring space between. Warren Buffett's fortune isn't a testament to being a wildly superior stock picker. It's a testament to the fact he's been a phenomenal capital compounder since he was literally a child. His secret is time. He started early and let the machine run for over 75 years. If he'd started at 30 and retired at 60, you'd have never heard of him. Imagine a room, 80 degrees. You have an ice cube. You increase the temperature to 81, 82, 83. Nothing happens. 84, 85. Still a cube. At 86, 87, it feels like your effort is doing nothing. Then at 88 degrees, it begins to melt. And between 88 and 89, the entire cube transforms from solid to liquid. All the critical change happened in that last degree, but it was preceded by 87 degrees of invisible buildup. Your financial life is the same. Year 1, 5, 10 of consistent saving and investing feels like nothing is happening. You're just stacking ice cubes. But the last few years, the final degrees of your working life, are where the entire portfolio transforms. The problem is, most people give up at 85 degrees. They conclude it doesn't work and cash out. The greatest returns are not from high intelligence, but from extraordinary patience. It's less about finding the next big thing and more about sticking with a good enough thing for an unthinkably long time. Lesson 5. That is told as freedom, the highest dividend money pays. We talk about money in terms of what it can buy: cars, houses, gadgets. But its most valuable purchase is invisible: options. Money's true purpose is to give you control over your time, to say no to a job you hate, to take 6 months off to care for a parent, to walk away from a toxic situation without fear, to wake up and think, what do I want to do today? This is the dividend that money pays that never shows up on a statement. It's the calmness at 2 a.m. when you're not worried about the mortgage. It's the ability to wait for the right job, the right investment, the right opportunity, because you're not financially desperate. Think of two people with the same $50,000. Person A uses it as a down payment on a luxury car that stretches their budget. Person B puts it in a freedom fund savings account. Who is richer? Person A has a fast depreciating asset and more monthly stress. Person B has a shield against chaos and the profound psychological comfort of knowing they can handle a crisis. They have options. When you view wealth as what you don't see, the untapped potential, the quiet security, you start spending less on status symbols to impress others and investing more in the invisible asset of freedom. That's the ultimate return on investment. Lesson 6, that is told as the tale of the unexpected. In a world driven by narratives, we forget that most things that happen are driven by a tiny number of extreme events, the tail events. A venture capitalist might fund 100 startups. 80 will fail, 19 will do okay, and one will become a Google, returning the entire fund 100 times over. The tail event, the Google, drives all the success. Your financial life is the same. A lifetime of steady savings can be dwarfed by one great investment you held for 20 years, or conversely, ruined by one catastrophic, unhedged risk you took. The lesson isn't to swing for the fences on every pitch. It's to be okay with a lot of things going wrong, as long as you don't get wiped out, so you can remain in the game long enough for the 1 or 2 tail events to work in your favor. This means having humility about the future. The biggest events are always the ones we didn't see coming, so your strategy shouldn't be about predicting them, but about building robustness. Be financially unbreakable. Survive long enough for luck to find you. The seduction of pessimism and the long-term optimism of progress. Turn on the news. It's a fire hose of pessimism, war, scandal, disaster, crisis. Pessimism sounds smarter, it's provocative. The optimist sounds like a naive salesman. But here is the iron law of history. Over the long run, things get better, not in a straight line, but inexorably. Medicine improves, technology advances, living standards rise. The stock market, a proxy for human ingenuity, trends up over decades because people wake up every day trying to solve problems and make things better. We are psychologically wired to overweigh bad news. This negativity bias bleeds into money. A market drop feels viscerally real. The slow, steady grind upward feels abstract. Imagine you're in a room where the temperature is being raised 1 degree per hour. You won't notice the improvement minute to minute, but someone bursts in with an ice bucket and dumps it on you. You'll notice that immediately. The news reports the ice bucket. History charts the rising temperature. Your financial success depends on betting on the slow, invisible rise in temperature, human progress, and not letting the dramatic ice bucket moments scare you out of the room. Tune out the seductive, smart-sounding pessimism. Have the quiet, stubborn faith in the long-term trend. So what do we do with all this? How do we build a financial life that works with our psychology, not against it? First, define your enough. Write it down. What does a rich life mean to you? It's probably not a number, but a collection of feelings and freedoms. Second, embrace the get-rich-slow scheme. Automate your savings. Invest in a simple, low-cost index fund that mirrors the broad market, betting on human progress. Then do the hardest thing, nothing. Let compounding work in silence. Third, build a margin of safety. Your plans will be wrong. The world will surprise you. So be humble. Save more than you think you need. Be more conservative with debt than the bank allows. This margin is the buffer that lets you sleep well and stay in the game. Finally, pay yourself in freedom. Every dollar you save is a vote for future autonomy. Before a major purchase, ask, does this buy me status or does it buy me freedom? Choose freedom more often. Finance is not the study of money. It is the study of people, of you, your history, your fears, your dreams, and the stories you believe. The most powerful thing you can do is to start editing that internal script. To replace more is always better with enough is a feast. To swap they're crazy with they lived a different story. To trade the frantic chase for the patient compound. Ronald Read, the janitor millionaire, wasn't playing the same game as the Wall Street Titans. He was playing a different, quieter, more personal game, and he won it on his own terms. That is the ultimate invitation. To stop following someone else's financial rulebook and to start writing your own. To build a rich life as you define it, underpinned not by the stress of comparison, but by the profound peace of understanding, patience, and freedom. The numbers are simple. The behavior is hard, but now you see the game for what it truly is, and that is the first and greatest step toward mastering it. Thank you for listening.